Hello, this is Helene, the environmental educator. In this video, we're going to talk about what happened with Hurricane Helene and that it swept through hundreds of toxic industrial sites. And they wonder, are all those chemicals now in the drinking water? This is October 13th, 2024. Recording this on the 14th. A local official in western North Carolina said, all of these rivers should be treated as hazmat sites. The headline, concerns raised about toxic exposure in aftermath of Helene floodwaters. You know, we use all these chemicals. They get into our air, our water, our soil, our bodies all the time. But right now, with Helene coming through, it says here that Helene ravaged hundreds of industrial sites in western North Carolina that were teeming with toxins and pollutants. Rice University researchers are calling for tighter restrictions on stored pollutants because of it. When that's not a solution, you know what the solution is? It is to end our use of it. These can be gone, especially if we started to use hemp, which could be used for everything. Okay, it says that Helene ripped apart paper mills, fertilizer factories, oil and gas storage facilities, and even a retired nuclear power plant while drowning the region in water. That water likely became contaminated with all sorts of chemicals that are probably currently seeping into the ground and into drinking water supplies. So, very scary stuff out there. And it says that the situation with Helene is unique in the sheer volume of industrial facilities affected. Because it says here that while it is normally the case that rain and storm surge flooding from hurricanes results in some environmental contamination, okay, it happens all the time. Okay, and it's just business. It's just the cost of doing business. Well, we don't have to do the cost of doing business if we lived responsibly and took these chemicals and toxins out of our society, which isn't hard to do. It says nobody seems to have a clear idea as of yet about which bacteria, chemicals, and other toxins are hiding in Helene's floodwaters or where they may have ended up in the days since the storm. All we know is that pollution is voluminous. Just so we have a very clear definition of voluminous, Merriam-Webster is having or marked by a great volume or bulk large area. Down here, it says that consider that volume is a measure of size. That will help you understand that voluminous refers to something very large in size or extent, which these other definitions here say the same thing, basically. So we are talking about something, they're probably just not saying astronomical, but it is very big. They say that hazardous releases remain largely invisible due to limited disclosure requirements and scant public information, is according to what Rice researchers who just want better storage said. Even emergency responders often don't know exactly which hazardous chemicals they are facing in emergency situations. So that's not good. I mean, the hazmat team needs to know what's going on. And they say that if we watch this video below, those on the ground say they have seen people wearing personal protective equipment and hazmat suits. What do they know that the rest of us don't? Well, they know that things that got wiped out were just filled with lots of toxins and chemicals. Rice University did a piece in the conversation. They said hazardous releases remain largely invisible due to limited disclosure requirements. CommonDreams.org says, we believe this limited public information on rising chemical threats from our changing climate should be forefront news at every hurricane season. Communities should be aware of the risks of hosting vulnerable industrial infrastructure, particularly as rising global temperatures increase the risk of extreme downpours and powerful hurricanes. Or, as we all have been hearing, geoengineering maybe. Okay, the fact of the matter is they're just throwing climate change, of course, into everything, but the communities should just eliminate the risk of hosting vulnerable industrial infrastructure and chemicals and toxins. And we could do that if we just lived responsibly, stopped using all of our plastics. One of these places that got hit was a paper mill. The toxins and chemicals they use is insane. And how could we stop that? Oh, hemp. You can make paper from hemp. And I bet you it doesn't use all the chemicals and toxins we're concerned about now. So they say here that the devastation of infrastructure and the lack of drinking water in cities such as Asheville has rightly received national media attention following the storm. The National Weather Service warns about floodwaters. They say what you can't see can be just as dangerous. Helene also brought with it public health concerns that are less obvious, including to other non-public sources drinking water. So it says Helene's floodwaters overran many wells, rendering them unsafe to drink, at least until treatment and testing can be done. According to North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services, they advise residents not to use contaminated well water. And they say one problem following Helene is most studies of the flooding's impact on drinking water have been done in coastal areas. It's not clear how they apply to the mountain areas of North Carolina that took the worst from the storm. The Food Safety Alliance said that crops are often rendered unsafe after flooding due to biological or chemical contamination. So even if anything is left growing, they could all just potentially have to be thrown out. Natural bodies of water are also unsafe to swim in following floods, according to the Virginia Department of Health, and other agencies warned people to avoid them after Helene. It was the Buncombe County spokesperson, Stacy Wood, that said all of these rivers should be treated as hazmat sites. And yeah, they should be. So if we would just stop using these toxins and chemicals when we have disasters like this wouldn't be a concern. And this isn't just a concern. This is a very real negative event that the people in the area are going to be dealing with for a very long time to come. If these wells are contaminated, okay, they just don't get uncontaminated easily. So stay tuned, people.